The morning show here on Arise News. Lebanon's Hezbollah group confirmed on Saturday that its leader and one of its founders, Hassan Nasrallah, was killed in an Israeli airstrike in Beirut the previous day. Nasrallah, who led Hezbollah for more than 3 decades, is far the most powerful target to be killed by Israel in weeks of intensified fighting with Hezbollah. The Israeli military said it carried out a precise airstrike on Friday, while Hezbollah leadership met at their headquarters in Deir, south of Beirut. Meanwhile, in an emergency cabinet meeting on Saturday, Lebanese caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati said that while Lebanon went to the United Nations for solutions, Israel chose treachery. His comments came a day after Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah was killed in an Israeli airstrike in Beirut. Attacks on Hezbollah targets by Israeli fighter jets continued. Hours before the strikes, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the United Nations, vowing that Israel's campaign against Hezbollah would continue, further dimming hopes for an internationally backed ceasefire.
In all the meetings I held at the United Nations, I felt from Lebanon's friends absolute support for us and an insistence on halting the Israeli aggression. But unfortunately, the law of the jungle that controls the world has made the Israeli enemy stall all efforts for a ceasefire and continue its war against Lebanon because it does not care about the law or international legitimacy. Perhaps what happened yesterday and is still happening now in the southern suburbs of Beirut and in a number of areas is the best clear evidence of the reality of the premeditated Israeli goals. Despite that, we renew our commitment to international legitimacy and international law, and we demand once again to work to stop the Israeli aggression and implement International Resolution 1701 at ISA and all relevant international resolutions.
All right, Leila, welcome. It's nice to have you here.
Regine.
Good morning.
Good
morning,
Good
Steve.
morning.
How are you?
Morning,
I mean, the news that made the rounds yesterday was quite, shocking because it's been over, 3 decades. Like I read out, the Hezbollah leader Nasrallah has been in hiding. I mean, Biden and Kamala Harris have reacted to his killing. They have, called it, they say his death is a measure of justice for his victims. But we know that Biden has called for a ceasefire. And, I believe that there's some sort of a disconnect between the United States and Israel, because I believe that there was that sort of campaign that was going on for a ceasefire for 21 days. And obviously, Benjamin Netanyahu went ahead to, order this sort of airstrike that, killed the Hezbollah leader. But, the Hezbollah group also has responded. I mean, they fear that there's some sort of infiltration that, that has occurred. The reason why he was attacked and killed at his headquarters, I'm talking about Nasrallah at this point, is quite the conversation now. Whether or not there's going to be a regional war, some analysts are saying, it's going to become a full-blown war. But, I'd say, and most people would believe that there is already a regional war at hand at this point. The question now is, how is the war going to be expanded? What's going to happen next? I believe that, Hezbollah has said that Nasrallah's cousin has already immediately taken over at this moment. Leila.
It's quite worrying because it does look like the Middle East is on the brink of a regional war here. It's reported that Israel had been tracking Hassan Nasrallah for a very long time, following his movements, and this was a very calculated effort to take him out in a single airstrike. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here because Iran have said that his death will not go unavenged. However, Iran have also not been clear on what sort of a response they're going to give. Now, some security analysts say that Iran know that if they strike back right now, they're walking right into the hands of the Israelis, the Americans, etc., and they may not end up doing that. We also know that there are other groups in the Middle East that Iran is also backed by. You have the Houthis and groups like that. So this is a very dangerous situation that the Middle East is walking into here. And, for many Lebanese people as well, Hassan Nasrallah was seen as this person that stood up against Israeli occupation. There are very mixed responses to his death, his murder. And it's quite worrying that war is not looking like it's going to be avoided here. The next question as well is there going to be a ground invasion? The way things are moving, it does look like Israel may end up putting a ground invasion through southern Lebanon. So dark times ahead, it's looking like. Israel are relentless. It doesn't look like they're going to be slowing down. And they are determined to take out any enemy of theirs in the Middle East one by one.
Absolutely. And Steve, Leila made that point, you know, that Netanyahu also has responded. And I'll read what he said after the death of Nasrallah. He said, "We settled the score with the one responsible for the murder of countless Israelis and many citizens of other countries, including hundreds of Americans and dozens of French." He said this in his first statement after that killing. And so you can see that, you know, it appears that he's not slowing down.
It won't slow down. You know that the war is important, and not just to the nation of Israel, but to the person of Netanyahu, given what has been happening, given his unpopularity, you know, at a time. And can you blame him anyway if you're faced with existential threats? We had a lengthy kind of discussion on this matter, you know, yesterday, and of course you can see the points of why Israel seems vociferous when it comes to dealing with those groups that they perceive as enemies. But then when human lives are involved, particularly those who are not part of the war, you know, women, children, residential areas from Gaza now to Lebanon, people will express worry, which I believe is what America is doing, which I believe it is what the United Nations is doing. But then, do you just express worry, or are there things that you are able to do to slow Israel down, to slow Netanyahu, you know, down? I think that's the most important thing. When I hear that Biden and Kamala appear surprised, I mean, what were you expecting them to do? It was obvious, sorry, that was the direction that Netanyahu, you know, was going to take. Yeah. My worry, personally, would be that if there's a ground invasion, like Leila said, what sort of casualties are we going to be dealing with? Is Middle East not entering a war that will last, forever, if you like? I think that Israel has the capacity, as they're claiming, to strike and to strike deep, and badly against enemies. But then we will have to define what an enemy means in this instance. If you are moving from Gaza to Lebanon and you are trying to enter into a ground battle, I think that it will be sensible for Netanyahu to listen to advice. I do not condemn the fact that they believe that they deserve to exist in the middle of enemies. But then if you are dealing with lives that are not part of this war, you just have to be careful.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, talking about lives, I believe the IDF, is at this point hoping that about 60,000 of their, citizens that have been held hostage be released. At this point, I believe that this is a sort of negotiation that should be taking place at this point, where there's a ceasefire and those sort of prisoner swap or, hostage exchange will occur to reduce the sort of damage that we are seeing.
I mean, it's clear that Netanyahu is not interested in any sort of a ceasefire anyway. Even this week at the UNGA, the US came out suggesting to people that there was going to be this ceasefire, only for the day after Netanyahu stands up in front of the General Assembly and makes it very clear that he's not backing down. And innocent lives are being lost here. It's on one hand, people can say Netanyahu and Israel are striking against their enemies. I'm sure there are many Arab countries in the Middle East that are being attacked right now that see Israel as their enemy. And there has to be some level of diplomacy here. Back to what you said, Mr. Steve, about the United States acting a bit surprised. This is what I don't get as well. You act surprised, yet you continue to fund Israel with more weapons to do what they are doing. And I don't understand where the line is going to be drawn. There are clear violations of international law happening here. This has been happening since Israel attacked Gaza. This has been going on for almost a year now.
Yeah.
When is it going to end? And it doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully there won't be a ground invasion, but the way things are looking right now, I can't see how any of this slows down.
Suggest that there will be.
Especially after the killing of Hassan Nasrallah, who led Hezbollah since 1992.
Right. I mean, talking about acting surprised, I mean, it is clear, I mean, even clearer that Biden actually has called for a ceasefire. So, I mean, I think that should be the sort of conversation. Hamas also has responded. I mean, they have said that, you know, his killing is a cowardly terrorist act by Israel. I mean, that's another sort of conversation that we would have in the near future, whether or not this is a terrorist act or sort of protection for their citizens.
Let's move on to our next story this morning. Former President Donald Trump meandered Saturday through a list of grievances against Vice President Kamala Harris and other issues during an event intended to link his Democratic opponent to illegal border crossings. A day after Harris discussed immigration at the U.S.-Mexico border, Trump spoke to a crowd in Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, about immigration. He blamed Harris for migrants committing crimes after entering the U.S. illegally, alleging she was responsible for, and I quote, erasing our border. Trump hopes frustration over illegal immigration will translate to votes in Wisconsin and other crucial swing states. The Republican nominee has denounced people who cross the U.S.-Mexico border as poisoning the blood of the country and vowed to stage the largest deportation operation in American history if elected. And the polls show Americans believe Trump would do a better job than Harris on handling immigration.
Border Czar Harris went to the border to lie in the most shameless and horrible way possible at the very site where she released so much suffering, misery, and death. There's no greater act of disloyalty than to extinguish the sovereignty of your own nation right through your border. No matter what lies she tells, Kamala Harris can never be forgiven for her erasing our border, and she must never be allowed to become president of the United States. She's letting in people who are going to walk into your house, break into your door, and they'll do anything they want. They'll do anything they want. These people are animals. Today I stand before you to make this promise. I will liberate Wisconsin from this mass migrant invasion of murderers, rapists, hoodlums, drug dealers, thugs, and vicious gang members. We are going to liberate our country. Kamala is mentally impaired. If a Republican did what she did, if a Republican did what she did, that Republican would be impeached and removed from office, and rightfully so, for high crimes and misdemeanors. That would be high crimes and misdemeanors.
All right, let's discuss this. So as we know, immigration is one of the political liabilities here coming up in the U.S. elections this year. Kamala made her first visit to the border in about 3 years. And of course, Trump doing what he needs to in a swing state, because immigration is one of those points that Kamala Harris does have worries about. What are your thoughts on this?
I like the fact that you did mention that, you know, Wisconsin is one of those swing states, and his campaign is quite heavy. I mean, calling Kamala Harris mentally impaired, and the fact that, you know, he had pictures of, I believe, immigrants in there and showing that they were all criminals, and the people that Kamala Harris has given asylum are coming to, you know, cut the throat of Americans. I mean, it's a good campaign for him because obviously no country would want some sort of porous border. But you know, Steve, it reminds me of the story we took about 2 weeks ago or so about the Pope, when he talked about the lesser of evil. Which one is the lesser evil? Is it the one that is against you know, immigrants,
and then who engages in murder
through abortion. And so this is sort of campaign that they're going to keep on running. But I mean, immigration it is a big deal at this point, Steve.
You're saying it's the bigger evil?
Well, I'm just saying, this is a sort of campaign that would, you know, endear Americans.
I get your point.
I mean, you saw how viral that video. They are eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. So that sort of rhetoric is what endears Americans to, you know, political leaders, because no country, like I would say, would want a porous border.
Yeah, I mean, this is the point where American politics is. Sorry, at this point, and Lila is very correct. You know, immigration will be a key, you know, topic, key subject, you know, through which this election will be decided. The same thing for the economy, the same thing for you know, party and your you know, being personable, you know, where of course Kamala is leading. Do I blame Trump? Of course, nobody is comfortable with the sort of rhetoric, you know, that he dishes out and the way that he, you know, he dishes them out. But then, you know, those are the sort of rhetorics that will resonate with the MAGA people, you know, people who believe in Trump, people who think that their jobs, you know, including some blacks, by the way, you know, in America, who believe that illegal immigrants and to an extent immigrants in general, you know, are taking their jobs and reducing their opportunities. Trump will continue to hammer on that subject matter, given the fact that Kamala, unfortunately, has not done very well as the person who was meant to be in charge, you know, of the border crisis. You know, you recall one of the popular interviews that she had, and she was asked about, have you been to the border? And she said, we've been to the border. We've been to the border. And then the gentleman said, but you've not been to the border personally. And they said, I've not been to Europe, you know, either. So now that she has gone to the border, it's something that Trump will continue to hammer on. He will hammer on the lateness of it. He will hammer on the evidence that abounds about people coming in, illegal immigrants, you know, pouring in, particularly through the southern border, and the sort of atrocities that they are committing. It is interesting that, yes, Kamala continues to have a slight edge in the polls, which, you know, suggests her popularity. But then Trump, over time, up till today, is still leading as the one that they believe that most voters believe will do better in the area of economy and immigration. So it's an interesting sort of, you know, American election this time around. What is even more interesting is the way that non-Americans, Nigerians in particular, who do not have any dog in this fight in terms of voting power, you know, are engaging with this sort of a thing. And I say that because when I hear people try to condemn Nigerians about why support A over B, I think that that's a reckless thing to say, because you can't, you know, American journalists or Americans generally will talk about what is going on in other countries too. And in any case, there are reasons why Nigerians think that, you know, the American election and who wins is of interest to them, given the way that America or American president in the last few years has related with Nigeria. We recall, of course, what went down during Obama and his refusal to allow, you know, arms to be sold to Nigeria. It was Trump eventually, you know, who got that done. There are, you know, other Nigerians who also look at the contentious issue of, you know, values around sexuality, which might be important to people. Then, of course, you know, what Oji also mentioned, the Pope weighing in and talking about, you know, which one is the lesser evil between the question of abortion and the question of immigration. So those are things that when Nigerians are listening to it and when they hear stuff about, oh, if you do not support a certain kind of sexual orientation, the sort of aids that you get might be affected. As little as it might sound to people who are not in America, it is something that, you know, that can sway emotions, which is why Nigerians are invested in this sort of a thing.
Again,
so for me,
people should always understand that the world is a global village. I keep hammering on that fact. I mean, you cannot not stay away from other people's elections. It's part of the world order.
And just back to this issue of immigration and the US border policy, it's also interesting to see how, in a way, in Kamala's own politicking, she's trying to also turn this issue back onto Trump. And this is also to do with the border security bill that she really wanted to get passed, and how she keeps hammering on about the fact that Trump made calls to friends in Congress not to get that bill over the line. Yeah. So she's also doing what she can on her part to play that, to postulate that, or put that position forward rather, that no, he doesn't want or hasn't done the best for our US border policy. So it will be interesting to see how this one does play out. But she had to visit the border. It had been way too long, and visiting the border is pretty much like knowing that you have to visit a swing state in these elections.
And to say the right things when she does.
Exactly.
All right, then we move on. The Minister of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, says that the ministerial reshuffle is not about politics, and that any minister that is working hard has nothing to fear. Our Rights International correspondent, Adesua Giwal-Sagie, reports.
And what people don't know, I think with this administration and this president, I think the media is doing a lot of somersaulting, much more than the actual government. We serve under a president that is only interested in the good of the people. And his mandate to all his ministers is go there, deliver, work hard for our people, because we're going through a time, we feel the pain of our people. And we know that we have to do much more than a typical minister would do because of the time we're operating. So to the best of my knowledge, the vibe from most of my colleagues is that anyone that is working hard has nothing to fear under this president. No. This is not about politics. People don't understand. It's not about politics. It's the president has got plans for the nation and is interested in seeing people deliver for him. So I don't think anyone is living. And if you're being honest, hunger is over. The last set of events actually is today. So nobody is living because of some news in Nigeria.
Leaving earlier than the
like which ones?
Planned.
Which ones are leaving?
There's some anxiety in the Federal Executive Council.
I don't think so. I think most of the people I work with, including myself, if we were to get back home and you're asked to leave, I think we'll look back and feel like we've done our best. I've done amazingly. To the best of my capacity for Nigeria. And I have no doubt that under this government, whether I remain the minister or not, the Nigerians will feel the impact of this administration without any doubt.
All right, that's the Minister of Communications and Innovation, Digital Economy there. Bosun Tijani, I believe in New York, on the sideline of UNGA, talking about what practically everybody in Abuja, if not the entire country, is talking about now, which minister will stay, which minister will remain on that particular seat or go to another ministry, and which minister, will head out. And he's saying there that he believes that he has done amazingly well, scoring himself, but he should be reminded that he won't be the one to score himself.
He wouldn't be the one to score himself, Steve. You're absolutely right, because only last week, Guardian reported that about 11 ministers had been penciled down for removal, and fortunately, his name was among the ministers, which I thought was why his fate is hanging in the balance, which I think that he's doing pretty well, I would say. But, they said that insiders are saying that...
Which key areas
in terms of just getting more innovation, getting more...
With you. This is to say that when...
Yes, in terms of getting more innovation, getting more investments into the tech world, I think that we have heard more from Bosun Tijani than many other ministers in the cabinet, which is one of the things that, Bayo Ononuga had charged the minister, saying that Tinubu said to them, you have to come out and show what you've been doing, show your workings. We want to hear from the ministers so that, we can make sure...
If the works are obvious, when the people see them, why would you have to hammer on what I've been doing?
Well, it's important because they're saying that Nigerians don't know. So it's also good to also show your portfolio. Absolutely. That's what it means. Absolutely.
Well, we know that these periodic reviews are going to be coming under the Renewed Hope agenda. So it'll be interesting to see who stays and who goes. Let's move on to our next story. Model and actor Naomi Campbell has disputed the Charity Commission's report on Fashion for Relief, calling it misleading. Now, she accepted responsibility but denied gaining personally or billing expenses. Campbell plans to appeal and remains committed to her charity work. And I'm going to read out a statement that we have received from Naomi Campbell here. After carefully reviewing the Charity Commission's report concerning Fashion for Relief UK, I find their conclusions to be incomplete and misleading in their consideration of evidence. First of all, I recognise that as the face of Fashion for Relief, I am ultimately responsible for its conduct. Unfortunately, I was not involved in the day-to-day operations of the organisation, and I entrusted the legal and operational management to others. I want to assure everyone who has supported us that these findings are being taken very seriously. I have instructed new advisors to undertake a detailed investigation of what transpired. Secondly, I have never undertaken philanthropic work for personal gain, nor will I ever do so. I've dedicated nearly 30 years of my life to charitable initiatives, and I care deeply about the value and impact of the work I do. Contrary to media reports, I have never been paid a fee for my participation in Fashion for Relief, nor billed any personal expenses to the organisation. It's important to me that this point is made clear and emphatically. Typically, I align my charity work with paid assignments which cover my travel and related expenses. In cases where this is not possible, either myself or personal friends have covered the expenses. In fact, in terms of specific hotel expenses mentioned in the report, the hotel has confirmed that all charges were settled by my personal travel agent, who in turn verified that they were reimbursed directly by a third party unaffiliated with the foundation. Finally, we believe aspects of the report are deeply flawed. We have concerns about specific points and intend to consider all options, including requesting an appeal to ensure that the report presents a fair and accurate representation of our operations. I remain dedicated to using my platform to uplift others through the creative arts. This experience has only strengthened my resolve to continue making a positive impact in the world. I am grateful for the unwavering support of our donors, partners, and supporters. Your trust and patience during this challenging time are deeply appreciated as we work diligently to address these issues and emerge stronger in our mission to help those in need.
Fantastic.
Now, Naomi Campbell has come out with this statement following what has transpired this week to clear her name and make it clear that even if certain things have happened, there must have been some oversight somewhere. She had other people that she had put in charge of certain positions. But to make sure that she puts her point out there as well, she is also saying that she is going to try and appeal this decision that's been made and clear her name as much as she can. So we've just received this statement. What are your thoughts on this and the news that we got this week?
I think it's a proper thing to do, given the fact that this has become something of a big news, particularly in the UK. And a lot of people are looking at, the supermodel that she is, in a way that, that would suggest that, maybe something untoward had happened. So I like this. I like this clarification, and I think that it is proper for her to appeal so that she can set the record straight.
Absolutely. I mean, I love the fact that she did clear the air, especially given the fact that, they had accused her of using, the funds for luxury hotel rooms, flights, spa treatments, personal security, and even cigarettes. I'm glad that she has said that, her agent has confirmed that those expenses were charged by her, travel agent. And it's good that she's brought out this statement because obviously it is not a good look for her, especially given the fact that she's been honored in several ways. Only when she, when that news came out, she got that amazing award.
She truly represents, and I think that will
absolutely
help in her image, overall image.
Absolutely.
Especially when it's known that you also do a lot of philanthropic work. To have your name attached to this sort of scandal is something that, of course, she'll want to
I think that
defend.
it is quite important. Well, all right. I believe that we will...
So despite the controversy, Campbell is receiving accolades. The model was in Paris when the disqualification made headlines, where she was honoured by France's Ministry of Culture. She was knighted with the prestigious Order of Arts and Letters for her significant contribution to global culture and the arts. Arise correspondent, entertainment correspondent, Kachi Ofia reports.
Just found out today about the findings, and I'm extremely concerned, and we are investigating on our side. As I was not in control of my charity, I put the control in the hands of a legal lawyer, and so we are investigating to find out what and how, as everything I do and every penny I ever raise goes towards charities.
Naomi Campbell has responded to allegations of financial misconduct following a 3-year investigation by Britain's Charity Commission, which has banned her from holding any charity roles in England or Wales. The commission found that her charity, Fashion for Relief, misused funds, including spending on security and a 5-star hotel stay in Cannes in 2018, and failed to manage partnerships with 2 other charities it owed money. While these allegations surfaced, Campbell was honoured in Paris by France's Minister of Culture, Rachida Dati, who awarded her the prestigious Knight of the Order of Arts and Letters for her creative contributions and global influence.
You inspire still so many women and men, and I have the honor tonight, in the name of the Republic, to celebrate your journey and your outstanding career at the service of fashion, of beauty, but also of a certain idea of liberty and equality. Dear Naomi Campbell, in the name of the French Republic, we are giving you the Medal of Knight of the Arts and Letters.
The minister also highlighted Naomi Campbell's battle against racism in the fashion industry.
From the start, you show off your amazing professional skills, this innate talent you have on the runway, and you are also so graceful on the front covers of magazines. However, something's wrong. You see too many opportunities escape from you. You shine on the catwalks, but advertisements, brand collaboration, and some big magazine covers stay too often out of reach somehow. This has a name. It is called racism.
In an emotional speech, Naomi Campbell reflected on her 4-decade-long career, acknowledging the challenges she continues to face.
Elle magazine. I came here in 1986, July, during my school holidays, and I was taken to Elle magazine, where I was wearing a long skirt, kind of like this. She lifted up my skirt and said, "Let me look at your legs," and then said, "Okay, I'm going to book you." And then booked me for 3 weeks. I would stay in the studio of Elle every day from 9 to 7, and I would work with different photographers every day. I discovered a magic of French fashion and photography, where a single image could evoke thousands of emotions and untimely make the world pause for a moment of beauty. But beyond the runway, glossy magazine spreads, France has always represented something deeper for me. Fashion itself is a powerful art form, and France breathes art, culture, diversity, and creativity in all forms. It speaks as a universal language and connects us and challenges our perspectives. While my French accent may still need some work, I've always strived for fluency in the language of art. I believe it's one of the most profound ways to express our shared humanity. It's no wonder so many artists, models, and designers are drawn to France. We've all come to be a part of something greater than ourselves. This shared pursuit of artistic expression and human connection is why I'm deeply honored to be acknowledged today. However, to be precise, this honor is not just mine. I share this with so many more. I share this with Katusha, who's no longer with us, Imalia, Dalma, and all the wonderful women that taught me how to walk down the runway, how to take off my cape, how to not get caught under the chandelier from my hat. My family, you are my foundation, and I thank you for your unwavering support. I've also made chosen family in this business of fashion, where some could say that we're very fickle. I can tell you that's not true. To the mentors and collaborators who have guided me, your confidence has been invaluable. To the designers, photographers, stylists, hair and makeup artists who have brought visions to life, Your artistry has shaped my career, and I'm profoundly grateful. Merci beaucoup. And to the aspiring models and creatives of our color, who remind me every day of the importance of representation and staying true to ourselves and to yourself. I share this recognition with you, with all that are up and all that are coming up. All the work that I do is that I want to make it easier for them. Collectively, you have all shaped not just my career, but my understanding of what it means to be creative and impactful in this world. I don't want to bring color into this because we all understand and know the way the world works. And I am a proud Black woman. And I've always known that I could never try 70%. It was always 110%.
The event was attended by prominent figures in the fashion industry, including Omar Kamani, the CEO of Pretty Little Thing, and celebrity stylist Karen Binns.
Her legacy speaks for itself, and I think the most amazing thing about Naomi is how she's trying to shape the future for emerging talent, and that's really what I admire about her the most. She really cares about, her initiative Emerge, really cares about putting emerging creatives on the map, and I hear her passionately speaking about it all the time. And yeah, I mean, what's there to say about Naomi? It's Naomi Campbell.
It is Naomi Campbell.
There's nothing I can tell you about that.
I can tell you what you can tell me though. There's a popular saying, the future of fashion is female, and I feel watching Naomi on stage today emphasizes that. What do you have to say to every other female out there who's watching it and doubting their potential?
I think Naomi teaches you as a female to be confident, bold, and strong, and we're in a world where it's great. People are noticing that women are becoming bolder and stronger and more vocal with what they want, and it's amazing to see. And women rule the world. Yeah, you do.
I think she's a strong, statue of strength and power, because when she started, there was very few chances for Black models, and it's the way she came at it. She came at it so soft and so eloquent. I remember when I invited her to a birthday party of mine in New York City. I think she was like 17. And I remember her not making it. 17-year-old girls are selfish, they're on the phone, they have no sense of reality, and they're spoiled rotten. I remember getting the biggest bouquet of flowers the next day at my home. I don't even know how she got my address. This is the level that we're dealing with from 17. So can you imagine if that's how she's starting? Think about how she's giving it up now. Like, I know Naomi has also helped so many people and put so many people on blast, including me, and I'll always be, I guess, a champion for what she stands for and what she's achieved, but what she's still doing. She's a mover, a shaker, but she's a doer. She doesn't talk or chat nonsense. She makes it happen, and she turns it to gold. And to me, this is a legacy that I just don't know if it will ever end, because I don't see her going anywhere. I don't know if that makes any sense, but most women her age, they've already given up. And my girl is still on fire. She's still everywhere. She still makes some moves. There's, when you speak to Naomi, it's always, 5 or 6 or 7 flights later. She's making money, but she's getting things done, and she's helping this one, and she's making this happen. So I think a lot more people need to Google her, but Google her for the right reasons, to really understand and learn what makes her tick and how she's been able to achieve what she achieves. Now they have this huge thing in London for the V&A, which is the life and times of her. And I took some young people the other day again, and I'm telling you, they were in tears. This is what young Black women need to see.
Campbell emphasized that despite the challenges, her faith and commitment to honesty remain unshaken.
I think absolutely faith and trust in my higher power. And I'm driven. I go by what my gut tells me to do, and that's how I make my decisions.
Why was today so emotional for you?
Oh my God, just seeing all these wonderful people that I've known for so many years and in one room, and people that I love, and this is like my family here. And yeah.
Kachi Ofia, Arise News, Paris.